Welcome to Layer the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, another in my series of milestone moments. These are moments in a band's career where maybe they release an album that is their big breakout album that gets them out there more into the mainstream. So the album and the band that I picked for today is Megadeth, and their 1986 album Peace Sells But Who's Buying? I did a poll on my community board. For those who may not have seen it, if you click on the community tab, I'll be posting polls where you can pick different topics. And the one was, what album should I cover next? And this came out pretty strong. So this is the second album from Megadeth following Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. It features, they had the same lineup for the first two albums. You, of course, have Dave Mustaine, fantastic riff writer. This album is just a riff-o-rama. It is one killer riff after another. It would be a good challenge for somebody to sit down and count the different riffs on this record because, man, they're coming at you fast and furious on this album. You've got Dave Ellefson on bass, a long-standing bass player for the band. And Dave's a great bass player. He's sort of a guy that sometimes I think doesn't get talked enough about. He's got a cool bass sound. He's right there playing right along with the riffs when he needs to, but he also adds cool little runs and lines here and there where it's appropriate. Gar Samuelsson on drums, who sadly passed away in 1999. This would be the last album with Gar. Great drumming. And Chris Poland on guitar. This would also be the last album with Chris Poland. He would come back and play some guest studio solos, I think, on The System Has Failed later on. But Chris Poland's a great player, and he brings a really unique, almost jazzy, fusion-y, technical style to his soloing that sort of takes it outside the traditional kind of either blues box or sort of the crazy, noisy thing that a lot of thrash guys do. So he's got great technique, a real sort of smooth legato sound, and he sort of plays kind of a little bit outside of the norm of what you would expect from a guitar player in a setting like this. The album is produced by Dave Mustaine and Randy Burns, and the production is really good. All the guitars the guitars sound great. You can hear all the instruments. It's a pretty punchy album. This is an album that has been remastered, and there's a remixed version of the album, and depending, I've got the original CD. I've also got the vinyl, but I think that the remaster sounds pretty good too. But for me, the original here, it's not too super slick or anything, but it's still really punchy. It's got a lot of weight to it, a lot of heaviness to it. Randy Burns also produced Possessed, Seven Churches. So he was a guy that got involved in a lot of thrash metal bands, and Possessed, Seven Churches being one of these famous albums of sort of a thrash crossing over into a death metal. The artwork is done by Ed Repka. It's sort of a famous here. You've got Vic Rattlehead, the famous Megadeth mascot. Ed Repka would be somebody who worked in a ton of different thrash bands and even some death metal bands, like he did some covers for the band Death. The album starts with Wake Up Dead, and this is just, man, again, there is just so many killer riffs on this. I sleep in my own house. And the way Dave is just sort of talking his way through the lyrics here. I remember as a kid, I never understood what the lyrics were. I just never paid attention. And when I got older, I finally listened more closely. And I realized it's about a guy coming home late at night, and he doesn't want his girlfriend to come out to know that he's, sneaking into the house. And I just think it's so cool that he puts a lyric like that over such, heavy riffing. And the part in the song where everything, there's just all this fast chugging. It is something Megadeth does so well. This it is just like a machine gun or something. It is so tight and so precise. It's just awesome. And I love the part in Wake Up Dead where everything sort of drops down and it gets into that like halftime grooving riff. Boom, bam, bum, ba da 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 da. Wake Up Dead. That part is just awesome, man. Just absolutely awesome. Because it's a great contrast when you've got this fast, heavy riffing, and then all of a sudden it drops down to like this chugging part. You're just like, yeah, man, that's so cool. The Conjuring is next, and this one has some sort of creepy lyrics to it. Davis said that these lyrics are sort of conjuring like hexes and things like that. And the music sort of fits this too. There's like this sort of almost dissonant like guitar line that just sort of floats around as it moves in and out of the riffs, and it just has a real sort of ominous creepy vibe to the song, which is super cool. Next, and this is the song that probably broke Megadeth out into the mainstream, is Peace Sells. This is one that it got a ton of MTV play. The opening bass riff is an iconic heavy metal bass line. I love the part in the song where the guitars do this like little descending this like descending little riff thing. Great lyrics. Yeah, this is something that the thrash metal genre in general would sort of take on. A lot of like sort of politically themed lyrics, but more in a sense of like destruction and the nuclear war and catastrophe and stuff like that, and Peace Sells sort of fits that description. I always remember they used to use, I think, the bass line for this for the intro to MTV News. And there used to be a commercial for MTV where they used to use a little snippet of the kid sitting in front of the television for the video where the dad comes in and turns it off. And what is this garbage or whatever? He says, you should be watching the news. And the kid turns around, this is the news, and it goes back into the song. Just great. So an iconic, legendary sort of, anthemic heavy metal song that really broke Megadeth, out into a much wider audience. Next, maybe my favorite song on the album, along with Wake Up Dead, is Devil's Island. I just love it's got an epic intro to it, and the riffing in it is super, the way it sort of drops down. It's like a little bass line, and then it kicks in, and it's like that fast, super fast riffing. I love the chorus in it, Devil's Island. It's just catchy, and it's just a great thrasher. Again, man, there is just riffs flying all over. This is another one that has like one of those like chugging riffs in it where the whole band is just like right on the money. And man, this is before Pro Tools and computers and all that stuff. So what you hear on here, they played all this. None of this was straightened out with a computer or anything. This is just great musicianship. And one other note about Megadeth, I always felt Megadeth was almost bordering on like progressive, like with their riffing, with the changes and everything that they were doing. And I really thought they were kind of ahead of their game for this. I mean, to give you some context, Metallica released Master of Puppets this same year, and although I love Master of Puppets, I think it's one of the greatest metal albums of all time. This is to me takes the riffing like up another step here as far as technicality and just mixing in all these different things and all this great playing. Throw in Chris Poland's like fusiony, jazzy guitar playing, and there's just great musicianship all over this record. Good Morning / Black Friday. Good Morning, Mouring, has this like classical sort of intro thing, which is pretty cool, and then it goes into Black Friday, which is a great thrasher. Bad Omen has this ominous, eerie kind of intro. It's got an aggressive, again, here's this almost like a prog-ish type of riff. Reminds me of kind of where they would start heading towards, moving towards Rust in Peace here with this real like technical prog-ish type riffing. Then we've got I Ain't Superstitious. This is a Willie Dixon cover, and if there's a fault I find with this record, it's with this. And this is something that Megadeth was doing for these albums around this time. They released a cover of Anarchy in the UK, and These Boots Are Made for Walking, and like, man, I just wish they didn't do that. I mean, it's kind of interesting, But with everything else that's going on the record, I get why they probably did it. They were probably hoping that it would get them radio airplay or video play or something. But to me, it's just, it sort of takes away from the record for me. It's really something I do not like, these covers that Megadeth did on these records. It's kind of fun, and if it would have been much better as a B-side or something like that. So the album ends with My Last Words. It's a great thrasher, really catchy, really cool way to end the record. This is, maybe if you had just dropped I Ain't Superstitious and gone right into My Last Words, I would have been totally cool with that. So all right, there you go. Megadeth, peace sells, but who's buying? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this record. Did you think it was really kind of ahead of its time? When I listen back now and I hear how technical and how pushing the boundaries here of fast riffing, it is really a sort of a groundbreaking album in some ways, and I think a milestone moment for the band, because this is again where the band really sort of gets into the mainstream and their career just keeps building after this. So just a fantastic band. Dave Mustaine and his evil kind of snarl, you can picture him hanging over the microphone. So all right, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this. Larry the Alchemist, social media, Facebook. Make sure you keep an eye on the comment sections for future polls. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.